So I have this guitar that I'm working on. This is a Haley Guitars Tonic model. We are going to take this thing and put a nice cool blue burst on this flame maple top. I'll start out by sanding the top to 400 grit. Remember when you're sanding something like this never to use your fingertips. You always want to use a sanding block or at least the palm of your hand like I'm doing here. If you sand with only your fingertips, you risk sanding indentations in the piece you're sanding. Now make sure and remove all of the dust from the top. I want to get everything out of the cavities and off of the edges, that way it doesn't get picked up into the color. Now I'm just going to apply some masking tape around the edge of this body. Now as long as I'm careful applying the dye, this tape won't be necessary, but it's kind of just a little bit of peace of mind in case I get carried away. Hopefully I won't get any color running over the edges. So I have 3 different dyes here that I'm going to work with for this. They're all trans-fast water-soluble dyes. The first one I'm going to use is kind of a brownish maple color. I think they call it a colonial maple. I'm going to use that to kind of bring out the grain before I apply the color. Then, secondly, I've got a really nice dark blue and then a turquoise color. We're going to go from dark blue on the outside and fade it in to this turquoise color. So let's get started. First up is our brown color. I've mixed it up really light because I want to add just a little bit of depth to this grain. I'm using a paper towel to apply the dye. I'm trying to be careful not to soak it too much when I dip it in the dye, and as I apply it, I always work from the center to the outside. I never want to start at an edge and drag it to the inside. If you start at an edge and go toward the center, that's where you're going to get a lot of pooling of the dye and you risk having the dye run down the edges. And we definitely want to avoid that because that's going to be really hard to fix, especially when we get into the colors. Wouldn't be so bad right now if some ran down the side, but when we get a bright blue on there, yeah, that's going to be hard to cover up. So you can see how that just kind of accentuates the grain just a little bit. Once that color's dry, now I'm going to sand it back and remove almost all of the color. The other advantage of sanding right now is that since this is a water-based dye, it does raise the grain a little bit, so this knocks everything down nice and smooth before moving on to the blue. Now for the blue, I'm going to do almost the exact same thing. I'm going to apply a coat to the whole top, and then I'm going to sand back the center. This will leave some of the blue in the grain to bring out the figure a little bit more. I'm trying to layer the colors to help add some depth to the wood. And we'll let that dry. Now I'm going to use my random orbit sander and begin to sand some of this blue back. I'll sand the whole guitar body a little bit, but mainly I'm going to focus on a teardrop shape around the center. This is where I'm going to add the next color blue. So that right there looks pretty cool. We could probably put some clear on that, and that would look really nice. But now we're going to jump up to our turquoise. And I forgot more paper towels. Hold please. For some reason the camera just shut off. I hope you didn't miss anything too important. Really, I'm just spreading the turquoise on there. Just kind of brush that in to the edges. You notice I'm leaving around the edge without any turquoise. I'm probably going to go back with some blue and darken that up a little bit in just a second. One of the cool things about this water-based dyes is you can manipulate the colors. If I get a paper towel with just water on it, you can start blending the colors and playing around with it, and we probably will do that here in a minute. One thing to keep in mind when you're working with these things, I need to keep these jars well away from here because all I can see is me knocking one over and having to stain the whole body. So now I'm going to go back to the dark blue, try to get out as much of the excess, and of course you can see I forgot my gloves again. And we're just going to lightly go around the outside. We're going to blend this together in just a minute. Now I'll take a paper towel that's just a little bit damp with plain water, and we can really get these colors blended. I like to do the swirling motion because, as you can see, it really blends it nice. When you're swirling it, you're pulling a little bit of the dark blue and smearing it into the turquoise, and then you're pulling a little bit of the turquoise, smearing it into the dark blue, and it really gets you a nice blend. And since this towel doesn't have enough moisture in it to drip over the edge, I'm not worried if I go over the edge while I'm trying to blend it together. I think that's good. And that is our finished body. This is gonna look really awesome when we get some clear on there. If you guys enjoyed this video and you wanna see more content like that, be sure to leave a comment in the video description. Let me know, and I will try to include more stuff like this when I have a guitar body that I'm gonna do some sort of stying. I will try to include more stuff like this when I have guitar bodies along these lines that I'm going to be dyeing. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you get notifications when I post new videos. If you found this or any of my other videos at all helpful, please consider becoming a patron over on Patreon. Patreon is a great way to help support the channel. Don't forget to check the video description for links that you might be interested in checking out, as well as my website, homebuiltworkshop.com, and be on the lookout on the Haley Guitars website, which is haleyguitars.com, where you'll be able to check this guy out when it's completed. So guys, thank you for tuning into this episode of Home Built Workshop, where handmade is always better than store-bought. See you later.